Man wasn't made until 5:30 on the sixth day, so he can't know how anything was done. Kingdoms crushed and crumbled while man went gazing up into the sky and down into the hollows of the earth trying to catch God working with his hands so he can find out his secrets and learn how to accomplish and do. But no man yet has seen God's hand, nor yet his fingernails. All they could know was that God made everything to pass and perish except stones. God made stones from memory. He builds a mountain himself when he wants a thing not forgot. Then his voice is heard in the rumbling judgment. Moses was the first man who ever learned God's power, compelling words, and it took him 40 years to learn 10 words, so he made 10 plagues and 10 commandments. But God gave him his rod for a present and showed him the back part of his glory. Then too Moses could walk out of the sight of man. But Moses never would have stood there before the burning bush if he had not married Jethro's daughter. Jethro was a great hoodoo man. Jethro could tell Moses could carry power as soon as he saw him. In fact, he felt him coming. Therefore, he took Moses and crowned him and taught him. So Moses passed on beyond Jethro with his rod. He lifted it up and tore a nation out of Pharaoh's side, and Pharaoh couldn't help himself. Moses talked with the snake that lives in the hole right under God's footrest. Moses had a fire in his head and a cloud in his mouth. The snake told him God's making words, the words of doing and the words of obedience. Many a man thinks he is making something when he's only changing things around, but God let Moses make. And then Moses had so much power, he made the 8-winged angels split open a mountain to bury him in and shut him up in the hole behind him. Ever since the days of Moses, kings have been toting rods for a sign of power, but it's mostly sham polish because no king has ever had the power of even one Moses' 10 words. Because Moses made a nation, a book, 1,000 million leaves of ordinary man's writings couldn't tell what Moses said. From the book Aquarius, Herald of the Golden Age, to continue on Moses and Jethro. Why was it given the same name, Jerusalem, which also suggests the name of Salam, which the city of Melchizedek? Because those who named it knew of Melchizedek, having received the same initiation that Moses received at the hands of his father-in-law Jethro. When Moses fled out of Egypt, he took refuge in the land of Midian, and there married Zipporah, the daughter of the great high priest Jethro. And we're going to get into another book that goes into Jethro and who he is and where he came from, and that he was one of the original peoples, the original dark-skinned melanated people that came out of India. And don't worry, we're going to get into that. Let me continue reading this. Moses studied with his father-in-law, who made it possible for him to reach Melchizedek. And it was Melchizedek who gave Moses the mission of bringing the awe-inspiring religion of the one God and imposed the religion of the world by force. Moses mentions Melchizedek in the book of Genesis when he tells the story of Abraham. He does not say much, but he did reveal that to the 60 ancients of Israel to whom he gave the key to his 5 books. And everything was controlled from the hidden initiatic center, which is the lost paradise, or Pardes, as it is called. The science, the knowledge that Abraham and Jacob knew long before Moses was also made known to David and to Solomon, whose name, Shlomo, was the same root as shalom, or peace, as has also the word Jerusalem or Jerusalem. Solomon was to build the temple of Jerusalem. The temple's measurements, its architecture, and the things in it all correspond in the ancient knowledge handed down from one tradition to another. This temple was destroyed by the Emperor Titus' armies in punishment of the sin of Israel. The book Anacalypsis, page 42. It is said in Numbers, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman, Kasut. It appears that this Ethiopian woman was the daughter of Jethro, priest of Midian, near Harob, in Arabia. Now we go over here. Cus, or Cush, whose meaning is unknown, but the Septuagint tells us it meant black. This book goes on to talk about the shepherds, or the people of Midian, where Jethro came from, originally came from India, and that they were taught by Melchizedek. The original Buddhist followed or initiates of Melchizedek and were taught by Melchizedek. That's why Moses was able to marry, because this Ethiopian woman, it may have just been under title that she was an Ethiopian woman. It just says in the scriptures that she's an Ethiopian woman. It doesn't actually say what her true lineage was or what Jethro's true lineage was. We don't get that type of information. Where the Oriental shepherds resided was called Avaris. Now I suspected that this man was called from the Hebrew word Ober, as was also the name of the city, and that they both meant stranger or foreigner, as the same tribe of Abraham in Syria. He is of the same opinion that these shepherd captives were Israelites. Jethro's people, the shepherds that were captives, were Israelites. Now we're in the 6th and 7th book of Moses. This book is really cool. It goes into really cool information on the magic of the Israelites. Very interesting book. But we're going to jump over to here to further expound on Jethro and his people and where he came from. And the Cushites are Cuthium. The language and the manuscripts of this rare and eternal monument of life and of the higher wisdom are borrowed from the Cuthans, a tribe of Samaritans who were called Cuthim, and the Chaldee dialect according to the Talmud, and they were so called in a spirit of derision. They were termed sorcerers because they taught in Cutha, their original place of abode, and afterward in Samaria, the Kabbalah or higher magic book of kings. Caspar, Melchior, and Balthasar, the chosen archpriests, are shining lights among the Eastern magicians. We go back to the Anacalypsis, and it coincides this, talking about how a lot of this magic, a lot of things like the magic in Egypt and that these other people had in the so-called Middle East came from the Far East, like India, like the islands over there, and so-called East Asia, and they all seem to either been kicked out or migrated over there. We go down here. They were both kings and teachers, the high priest teachers of this glorious knowledge. And from the Samaritan Cuthans, from these omnipotent priests of the fountain of life, who were called Negro, the book of shepherds, according to the traditions of Talmud, originated the gypsies. The gypsies came from these people, who, through degeneracy, lost the consecration of their primordial power, fled from India. So just some stuff I'm reading about, but going back to Moses, there's just so much interesting stuff that you never stop learning about him. It's just more and more information that comes out with Moses.